Well, good evening, everybody. And I would have to say that I'm pretty, pretty tired from the last couple of days. Last week I dismantled a wigwam teepee, a toy one, but a huge wooden thing that was in the playground of the nursery, and it was of no use to anybody. So anyway, that got dismantled by me last week. And with the wood from it, I've made flower beds for Eunice and a kennel for Jock. So on the Facebook page, my Facebook page, personal, you'll see pictures of it. So he seems to like it anyway. That's the main thing. So I have been kind of busy with that. Anyway, let's crack on with what we're supposed to be here for, which should be part 2 of the March 1st interrogation. Let's hope everything is set up right. I think so. Let's move me up there, out the way, and let's click on play.
Hello everybody, you have tuned in to Erekose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Hey, hello folks. We are here today again talking about Brendan Dassey in the March 1st interview. Today we're going to be covering more of we're going to go over what this grandfatherly tones and this grandfatherly demeanor is, and in my opinion, look at how very suspect it is on its own. But and when it gets overused, as I think it very much did in this case. I mean, they were trying so hard to get Brendan to say what they wanted him to say that they were continuously trying things, trying different techniques to get him to slightly alter what he was saying and things like that. But we'll go over that here. The one thing that I think is important about Brendan is, if anybody who knows this case knows that there's one story that Brendan told with pretty much absolute consistency, that it just didn't change. It never changed. He always told it consistently, because you could pretty much tell he was recounting what actually happened. And that's the story where he comes home, he goes to the house, he plays video games, he gets a call from Blaine's boss, whatever it is. Eventually his mom comes home, then Steven calls, he goes over to Steven's for a little while, comes home a little bit later, and all that. That's the story that has never really changed. It's remained consistent. Okay? The story that changes, the story that does not stay the same, is this coerced story that you see these detectives working so hard to get him, not just to get him to say incriminating things, but to get him to say the right incriminating things. Because if he says the wrong incriminating things, it makes his confession worthless to them, so they have to get him to say the right incriminating things. And that's the real difference of what you're seeing in this interview. You're seeing the cops trying to get Brendan to go between the wrong incriminating things that he says to the right incriminating things for him to say, so that they can use his confession and make it look credible. That's really what's going on here. I just don't understand it when I see, like, for instance, Judge Hamilton. Judge Hamilton says that he sees a boy who was resisting the officers. He was resisting, the officers, and he didn't want to tell the truth. It just makes me wonder about Judge Hamilton. Has he really looked into the case fully? Is there some reason he has to be biased? Because when you look at it, Brendan tells the story. Like I said, like I started out with today, is that Brendan tells the one story with absolute consistency. It's only this cockamamie, coerced confession that that goes awry and gets completely whack and doesn't, it changes, constantly changing. The narrative doesn't stay the same on it. It's and and the cops in Fassbender and Wiegert are constantly coming in there, prying at him, getting him to alter certain aspects of things that he said because they don't think it works for their narrative. I mean, that's what's going on here. Anybody who's denying that or who can't see the distinct possibility of it, at least, if you can't at least see the distinct possibility that Brendan was just guessing and he was being coerced, then you're really not paying attention, or you don't really want to look at it. One of the two. It's one of the two, because it's right there. It's right on film when you watch these guys, and I'm going to show you some of it here today. So we're going to go into first here. We're going to go into where they're trying to get Brendan to say what they want him to say when he came home from school. So it's like, what really happened, Brendan, when you came down, the school bus dropped you off and you came down the driveway or whatever. What really happened? And you're going to see here all of the various suggestions that they're going to make and stuff. And then at the very end, tell him that they're not trying to that they can't put any words in his mouth, or they can't say it for him or whatever. I mean, it's like, well, of course you can't say it for him. Why would you even suggest saying it for him? Because he doesn't know what you want and he would be guessing and he's probably going to make a bad guess. Well, anyway, we'll move into the first clip here and we'll come on back.
I want to revisit when you got home from school. Okay? You were with Blaine, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said you walked down the road to your house. And you said that you saw Stephen on the porch. Mark and I are having a problem with that. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to put words in your mouth, but we're having a problem with that.
Okay, pay attention here, because this is how it goes. Mark and Tom have a problem with that. Whenever Brendan is saying something that they don't like, whenever they need him to alter what he's saying, it starts out just like this usually. Oh, Mark and I have a problem with that. We have a problem with that. They're trying to get him off of his story that is consistent and doesn't change. They're trying to break him away from that so that they can start molding him into the narrative they want. First step is getting him to say that he went to Stephen's house when he came down the driveway. And that's essentially what they're trying to do here. So it always starts out pretty much like that, though. Throughout the interview, there was always Tom coming in and saying, Mark and I have a problem with this. And here it is.
Blaine not seeing it, stuff like that, and the time period, because it's 3:45, and we're real familiar with time periods here and when she got there and stuff. Is there something you need to tell us about that? When you got home, what did you see before you went into your house? Did you even go in your house, or did you go over to Stephen's? Talk to us about what happened there, because the time periods aren't adding up, bud.
So there you see right there, a plot point suggestion. Did you even go home? Or did you go over to Stephen's trailer? So there it is. They're basically letting him know the story that you've been telling isn't acceptable to us, but what would be acceptable to us in their sly way of suggesting it is that if you say you went over to Stephen's. That's the implication here. That to this very suggestible 16-year-old kid. Can't deny it, it's right there.
Well, I don't know if Blaine's seen it, but I never asked him about it. So I don't know if he's seen it or not.
Again, whether Blaine saw it or not, the time periods aren't adding up. They're not equaling out. We know when Teresa got there. And I guarantee you Teresa's not standing on that porch when you come home from school. I don't see that.
Okay, so as I listened to that particular part, I think back to when they were telling Brendan, oh, look, if I fill in these holes, I think you're okay. I think that you'll be all right. You won't, you don't have, you may slightly be implicated or whatever, right? So then Brendan maybe takes that to mean, okay, well then maybe if I just say I saw her over there. If I saw her over there around that time, then that way they get what they want And I don't have to say, I don't have to be like involved in this big old lie. He's trying to like minimize how much he's being. It would seem to me he's trying to just say, okay, yeah, I saw her over there to please these investigators. Yeah, I saw her over there. She was on the porch, and then he goes home and plays video games. That's his story. That's the story he wants to stick to because it's the story that was true. The part he wants to lie about is to say that he saw Teresa or Steven over on the porch, but he's only doing that because he wants to please the investigators. Seems very obvious. Seems very clear to me when I watch this. And just keep in mind that even to this day, they had no evidence to implicate Brendan. So to come at him like this, as strongly as they did, pretty much forcing him to change his story without any evidence. There's no evidence there to tie Brendan to any of this. Right? So how do you explain this coming at him and browbeating him out of the story that he's been telling very consistently for months into this coerced confession that goes through so many zips and turns and loop-de-loops and is such an incredible mess? I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at it right there. You look at the story that was consistent, you look at the story that was never consistent. And that tells you right there what's going on. The non-consistent story is the BS one. So, we're going to move on to a little bit more with Fassbender and Wiegert here. So, here we go.
I have a problem with the car sitting out front yet at this time either. That car's sitting out front, other people would have seen that car, Something's not adding up here, and you need to tell us the truth. Did this all start right when you came home from school? You need to tell me. You need to be honest with me. I can't tell you. I can't tell you these things.
Yes, but you are telling him these things, Tom. Unbelievable, that statement right there. I mean, all throughout this interview, he is feeding Brendan tidbits of information so that Brendan understands what he and Mark want him to spit back, basically, at them. Ridiculous. That last statement to me is so beyond ridiculous. But now we're going to move into all the parts now where also in an effort to get Brendan to say what they wanted him to say, to get him to alter his original story and to try to give them the story that they were looking for on March 1st to fit the narrative that they had already established in their minds. Mark proceeds to start getting a little creepy, in my opinion, when you watch it. When you watch it, the way he does it, it's a little bit creepy. But it's when he starts touching Brendan or patting Brendan, I guess is probably what he would say he was trying to do. It looks very awkward, and because it looks very awkward, it looks very creepy. But it's him. He'll Brendan will be saying something that he maybe doesn't like or something, and you'll see Mark scoop forward in his chair like this and lean like this towards Brendan, right? And when he leans towards him like that, he's just waiting within seconds after Brendan's done talking or whatever, or after he's going to say something, and then as soon as Mark answers Brendan about something, he'll then reach over and pat Brendan or whatever you'll see here. But these are the things that, why do you need to be touching this kid? Okay, you've already been expressing the fact that in this interrogation you're asking Brendan, are you just telling me that, or did that actually happen? How many times has that question been asked in this interview? Because they are aware that they're coercing this kid, and this is just another tactic. So they're trying to get him, push him and prod him and get him into saying what they want him to say, and it's very obvious. But these particular scenes with Mark touching him, and even at one point going over and sitting next to him and like putting his arm around Brendan's shoulders, kind of thing. I mean, you'll see here. We'll come on back, but we'll go ahead and take a look at it right now.
Okay, keep going. We already know.
Used you for this.
Come on, be honest with us. Be honest with us. We already know it's okay. We're gonna help you through this, all right? Tell us, how do you know that?
We can't say it.
Brendan, I already know. You know we know. Okay? Come on, buddy. Let's get this out, okay?
You're coming back with the mail. Take us through it.
What happens next? Remember, we already know, but we need to hear it from you. It's okay. It's not your fault. What happens next?
Does he ask you?
What about the knife? Where's the knife? Be honest with me, where's the knife? It's okay. We need to get that, okay? Help us out. Where's the knife?
Probably in the drawer.
In which drawer?
There's a knife drawer
And where's that?
in the kitchen.
Is it probably in there, or do you know what's in there?
That's where I think it is.
Is it probably in there, or do you know it's in there? That's right there. Mark Wiegert is betraying the fact that this is a honest confession. This is a good confession that he feels confident that Brendan is being honest with him. No, he cannot be feeling that way here. Otherwise, he wouldn't be asking Brendan a question like that. Okay? He just wouldn't. So anyways, that's what I'm basically talking about here with all the touching, the grandfatherliness. It all comes off as awkward. Really, it comes off as awkward. I mean, there's even a clip where Tom Fassbender is trying to do that whole grandfatherly tone with Brendan, and at the end of it, he actually says, "This is really awkward, though. This is really awkward, though. So I'm going to let you talk." And he hands it over to Brendan to let Brendan speak, and he was basically trying to prod Brendan into saying something. He was talking about, I can't remember exactly what it was about. I think it was about possibly going up to Steven's trailer after getting off of the bus. But it did. I do remember distinctly those words out of Tom's mouth at one point, saying, "Oh yeah, this is awkward, but I'm going to go ahead and let you speak at this point." So, yeah, there's certainly a lot of awkwardness about this, and that's why it seems less grandfatherly. It just doesn't. It seems so forced by them. Almost like they're aware of what they're doing and they feel maybe conflicted about it. Who knows? I don't know. It's hard to say. Who knows how Mark and Tom feel about anything? I mean, they're their own person, and who knows what's going on in their own heads, basically. So, but that's about it here. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and play the clip one more time where Brendan says, after it's all said and done, how he basically says that they got to his head. That, and we all know how suggestible Brendan is. So, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.
What do you mean?
Like, if his story's like different, like I never did nothing or something.
Did you? Huh?
Not really.
What do you mean, not really?
They got to my head.
Huh?
Didn't say anything.
Well, there we go. Another excellent video from the dude. Just got to admire his stuff. Some of the comments coming back about the dude, particularly like one that was Anti-Barlow, which said, he's unparalleled. We will try and live up to his standards, but he was pretty unique, the dude. Anyway, I shall search for part 3. As I said, I remember particularly for the dude, keep it classy for Brendan Dassey. As you know, he was all over the control question and everything else to do with Brendan's confession, so-called confession. And I must admit, I did have a really good conversation with him. I would say for quite a few months, I was not overly sympathetic towards Brendan. I couldn't understand why he'd acquiesced to Bert and Ernie the way he had. And then, slowly but surely, I started to realize that I was being, very, very unkind, showing no humanity whatsoever in that regard, which is exactly what the people that are keeping Brendan where he is today, they are showing a complete lack of humanity. Anyway, we'll catch you all again soon. I'm going to go and see if we can both fit in Jock's kennel. No, I'm only kidding. Bye for now.